One of the very first mitzvos that the Jewish people were given together as a nation was the mitzvah of the Korban Pesach. Now, the Korban Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice, was taken on the 10th of the month of Nisan. It was a lamb that would be taken and would be tied to the bedpost. It will remain tied to the bedpost for 4 days until the 14th of Nisan. In the afternoon of the 14th of Nisan, this lamb would be slaughtered. Its blood would be taken and put on the lintel of the door. The reason being so that when Hashem passed over Mitzrayim and he was going to kill the firstborn of Mitzrayim, he would see the blood on the door so that he would pass over the Jewish homes and would not kill the firstborn of the Jews. And then the rest of the lamb would be taken and roasted on Erev Pesach so that it could be consumed on the night of Pesach. And the pasuk tells us that it's consumed al matzos umrorim yochluhu. It's consumed with matzah and with moror. So there were very specific laws as to how this lamb was to be consumed, was to be eaten. We know the Gemara in Pesachim explains to us that there was a chabur of people, a group of people, and there are all kinds of intricate details as what's considered to be a group. A person couldn't eat the entire Korban Pesach by themselves, so they had to have a group of people that they got together with to eat it together. Now, whether a person is part of a group, if they were originally part of a group and then they're no longer a part of the group, that's the discussion of the Gemara. But some of the other laws that we have regarding the Korban Pesach are written in the Psukim themselves, and one of them is actually very intriguing. And that is, the pasuk says, "Ve'etzem lo sishberu bo," that when you eat the Korban Pesach, you have to be sure that you don't break any of its bones. Now, why? Why do we have to be concerned about breaking a bone of the Korban Pesach? We're eating the carcass. We're eating all that's left. We're eating the food. Why do we have to be concerned about breaking the bone of the Korban Pesach? So the Sefer HaChinuch tries to explain to us as many of the mitzvos that are explainable. Some of our mitzvos don't have specific reasons. But here the Sefer HaChinuch identifies and says that the reason why we're not allowed to break a bone on the Korban Pesach is because we are B'nai Malachim. We are royalty. And when you're royalty, you have a certain demeanor. We have a certain sense of self-respect that we don't violate at any time. And so unlike, for example, dogs, kalavim, who break bones and eat the marrow of the bones, eat everything in it, when it comes to the Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, certainly on the night of Pesach, being royalty, we can't act like animals act. And Rav Shmuel Rozovsky takes this one step further and says as follows. It is true that the halacha of the etzam lo sishberu bo, that you can't break any bones, applies on the night of Pesach to the Korban Pesach. Realistically, though, we no longer have a Korban Pesach. On the night of the Seder, we eat matzah, we eat moror, we don't eat a Korban Pesach. The closest thing that we come to that is Erazecha, our remembrance, is we eat the Afikoman at the Seder to remember the Korban Pesach. So he says that halacha would seem does not apply to us, since we don't eat the Korban Pesach. There's no prohibition of breaking a bone when we're sitting and eating food, for example. But Rav Shmuel Rozovsky explains that the lesson of why we don't break the bones of the Korban Pesach is a lesson that is fundamental to being a Jew and must be with us all times of the year and in our generation, as it was in the generation of the Beis Hamikdash when they actually ate the Korban Pesach. And that is that we are royalty inside, and that we need to treat ourselves as royalty. We need to act a certain way. There are expectations of how a Jewish person, a Torah-observant Jew, presents themselves, be it in private, among others who are fellow Jews, and among the public who are not Jews as well. And because we have that sense of royalty, although the Torah explains it to us by saying we can't break the bone of the Korban Pesach, nevertheless, royalty means that we act a certain way, we have certain values, we speak a certain way, and a certain language that we choose is really, it's important for us to ensure that we're speaking appropriately and that a Jew doesn't speak a certain way. A Jew doesn't act a certain way. It's beneath a Jew to act a certain way. And it's something that we need to keep in mind, not only from the times of the Beis Hamikdash and breaking a bone, but even to today. and how we present ourselves to our fellow Jews, and how we present ourselves to the rest of the world. May we be zoche to indeed keep the lesson of the Korban Pesach and the broken bone alive to this day in our times. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.